Hey moviegoers, it's been a while, hasn't it? Yes, I am back, just at least for this video. I wanted to review Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. We did all the other reviews for all the other Star Wars movies, and I couldn't justify not doing a review, or at least a spoiler talk for The Rise of Skywalker. And unfortunately, as some of you may know, I don't really have all that much time, so I'm doing this review while I drive to work. My drive to work is about an hour-ish. I have to drive about 45 miles, so yeah, I have plenty of time to talk about this movie. So yeah, let's just get into it. I personally thought it was a pretty fun film. As some of you probably know, if you've seen any of our other videos, especially the Last Jedi review, I didn't like that movie. And if you even follow me on Twitter, at Married Review, or is it Reviews? It's been a long time since I've actually had to say it. You'll know that I really didn't like The Last Jedi. In fact, it's my least favorite Star Wars movie, even more so than Episode 1 and 2. So yeah, so let's talk about The Rise of Skywalker. It brings back everyone. It also introduces Billy D. Williams, or reintroduces, brings back Billy D. Williams as Lando Calrissian. Sorry, I'm being blinded by the headlights behind me. It also brings in Carrie Russell. I forget her character's name. There's also another character I don't remember. I haven't done this in a while, guys, so I'm a bit rusty. Anyway, let's get into let's just go to the negatives first, because there are a lot of negatives in this movie, and there are going to be a lot of comparisons to The Last Jedi, because this is a sequel to it. It's a direct sequel to it. It's also a sequel to The Force Awakens, so I'm going to be comparing all three. I'm probably going to be comparing The Rise of Skywalker to all the Star Wars movies. So let's just get into it. The opening crawl, it was weird. I didn't like them saying, "The dead speak, Palpatine's back." Like, hey, that should have been revealed on screen, not in text. But I understand why they had to do that. I would have preferred an extra 30, 45 minutes to the runtime of this movie for them to actually show us how and why he came back, instead of just being like, yeah, I'm back, deal with it. Oh, by the way, this is spoilers. Which probably should have said at the beginning. Again, I'm rusty, guys. I think it's been about a year since I've done a video like this. I thought that it was a bit weird to bring Palpatine back like that. I understood why they had to do that, because they couldn't make it a 3.5-hour movie, which, to be honest, I wouldn't be too upset about. A 3-hour movie, that'd be perfectly fine. Avengers Endgame did it. They probably earned it more so than the Star Wars movies, unfortunately, at least up to this point. But yeah, I thought it was a bit weird to bring him back like that. Rey is a bit overpowered in this movie. When we first see her, she's literally levitating. She's floating, using the Force. To my knowledge, Luke never levitated. He could jump. I think it's called Force jump. Everything is just Force something. Force run, Force jump. Yeah, he could jump really high. He jumps out of the, I almost call it the Tabana gas. It's the carbonite chamber. When Darth Vader tries to freeze him to transport him to the Emperor, he jumps really high out of that. He jumps in Return of the Jedi a lot, at least 2 or 3 times. Quite a bit, or quite high, I should say. So it's not like jumping really high has never been seen, but to my knowledge, we have never seen a Jedi on screen float. Not only that, but she's like circling herself with rocks and stuff, and it's like, oh, I get it, rocks, but she's also levitating. And she's saying, like, be with me, because she's calling for all the previous Jedi to be with her. So yeah, I didn't necessarily like the fact that Rey was like overpowered in this movie, but whatever. She was a Mary Sue in the first 2 movies, and now she was a little overpowered, but now she's really overpowered. Not as much of a Mary Sue in this movie, and I'll get to that in my positives. But Leia, I understand that obviously her untimely passing, but they wanted to include her into the movie, which, I respect. But the way they did it, it was weird. You could tell something was wrong. With every shot that she's in, the lighting, obviously, they did the best they could. And if you had done this 10 years ago, yeah, we would have been like, oh, that's amazing. But now we see certain things. Yeah, it felt weird. I didn't like Maz Kanata's character in this movie. She was unnecessary. I wanted her to tell the story about how she got Luke's lightsaber, especially when they were that became a plot device for a little bit. Like, Rey's basically saying, I'm not worthy of your brother's lightsaber, even though I used it in the past 2 movies, and I broke it. Yeah, that was a bit weird that she didn't feel worthy of using it now. She did try to give it to him, but he didn't take it in The Last Jedi. But, it's a bit weird. Her training was, I guess it makes sense because that's kind of the way Luke trained in The Empire Strikes Back. But, Maz Kanata's character was just weird. To my knowledge, if I remember correctly, I've only seen it once, and it was a couple weeks ago. It was Christmas Eve that we finally got to see it. But Maz Kanata's character is like a practical effect. Why'd they do that? They had her as a CGI character in The Force Awakens. She looked great. The Last Jedi, it was a weird scene that she was in, but she still looked great. And now she's it's like a baby Yoda where her eyes don't entirely blink. They kind of almost close, 80% of the way. It was weird. I didn't like it. And they should not at all have done that. That was a really bad move on their part. Also, at the beginning, when Finn and Poe and Chewie and that worm alien guy who serves no purpose, there was no reason to include that character. I don't even remember what that character's name was. They did give it a name. If you guys remember that worm-like creature's name, the alien that was in the Millennium Falcon at the beginning, let me know. I'm curious. So they have to get something from this green alien that is also voiced by Mark Hamill, which I thought was cool. He says, "Win the war." That's really about all he says. They get something and upload it to R2-D2. Do you guys remember what that was? Because I honestly don't remember that coming back into the story. I really don't. All I remember is him saying, yeah, there's a mole on the inside of the First Order. And we later find out that it's General Hux, which, to be honest, I was trying to remember. I'm like, who could the mole be? I thought it was going to be like Lando or something. That would have been a cool way to introduce him. I did like how they introduced him. But General Hux being the mole, it made sense. But the fact that he's like, I just want Kylo Ren to lose, and that's why I'm the mole, it was just a little childish sounding. And I've heard a lot of people saying, the script feels like it was written by a 10-year-old or a 7-year-old. I'm like, yeah, but that's a pretty talented 7-year-old. Excuse me. Trying to remember any other negatives that I had. Palpatine coming back was cool. I liked how he looked. Some of his dialogue was pretty weak. I really liked the fact that they brought in his the dark side of the Force is the pathway to many abilities some consider to be unlikely. That was awesome. But the fact that when they reveal Rey's lineage being a Palpatine, it was really awkward and weird. That did feel childish as well. I appreciated the fact that they just came right out and told us, because Rey didn't know. And what I really liked about that scene, though, is the fact that they took what Rian Johnson did in The Last Jedi by saying Rey's parents are nobodies. They flipped that on its head and be like, yeah, they were nobodies, but by choice. And I really liked that. It's like, yes, thank you, J.J. Abrams. You brought that back around and pleased the fans. And that's another thing. I know I'm kind of bouncing back and forth with positives and negatives. I'll get more into positives in a few minutes. But the whole thing about people saying, Rise of Skywalker just retconned everything in The Last Jedi. That's a good thing, okay? And a lot of people are complaining, especially critics, like, it's just fan service. Well, I would rather the final movie of a trilogy and saga, a 9-movie, 10 if you include, or 12 really if you include Clone Wars, the movie. I've never seen it. I don't want to. Rogue One and Solo, because those are technically within the same story. They all include those characters in some form or another. The fact that I would much rather be fan service concluding all of that than subverting expectations like Rian Johnson did. That's the main thing that bothered me about The Last Jedi, is the subversion of expectations. You come into a pre-existing franchise that's been around for nearly 40 years at the time. No, I think it was 40 years at the time, because I think it came out in 2017. You come into a franchise that's been around for 40 years, and you're like, you know what? These fans love Star Wars. I'm going to trick them. I'm going to surprise them. I'm going to subvert their expectations. Don't do that. You can subvert their expectations maybe once or twice, but not the entire movie. I'm still so fed up with The Last Jedi. But again, now the critics are upset because J.J. Abrams subverted their expectations based on their expectations from The Last Jedi. They expected The Last Jedi to be the route that they were going to go. That same type of feeling. No, J.J. Abrams brought it back to please the fans. He toned down the humor. He kept the story simple and yet overly complicated at the same time. And he made it fun. Rian Johnson did not make a fun movie. In any case, it was visually pleasing. Yes, I'll give him that. But it just was not a fun movie. He killed off Luke. He killed off Snoke. He should have killed off Leia, let's be honest. He killed off Luke within the first minute of his screen time. The moment he throws his lightsaber over his shoulder, I'm like, that's not Luke. And J.J. Abrams subverted everyone's expectations by turning almost everything that happened in The Last Jedi on its head to be more pleasing and to make more sense and to answer questions. That's all that he did from The Last Jedi, is he made everything make more sense. How is that a bad thing? The holdo maneuver. I love that they even bring that up. They're like, why don't we just do a holdover maneuver and destroy all the Star Destroyers? That's a 1 in a million shot. Yeah, great. Because that ruined all the previous Star Wars movies. Like, why did they do that to the Death Star or the second Death Star or Starkiller Base? That would have solved all our problems really quickly, like instantly, light speed quick. But yeah, it was visually. Now, don't get me wrong, I loved that shot in The Last Jedi. It was amazing. The sound, how it just cuts out and then it's a big explosion. That was amazing. Visually and audibly amazing. But when you really think about it, it ruins a lot of what happened before and what can happen after that. And I'm glad that J.J. Abrams brought that back and was like, no, we're not going to do that because that kind of defeats the purpose of having any type of battle. You just send a ship into another ship and it's over. So yeah, trying to remember what else was bad about the movie. It does. I didn't like the Force healing, and the story gets very convoluted. It's a MacGuffin chase. In a way, the MacGuffin chase kind of felt a little like a Transformers movie, because in every Transformers movie, there's something that they have to find, or there's something that the Decepticons find, and it was very reminiscent of that. But I want to get into my positives, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to find more negatives as I'm talking about the positives. The positives, Finn does more in the first 2 minutes of screen time, maybe even the first minute of screen time in this movie, than in the entire runtime of The Last Jedi. Okay? And Rose. I did not like Rose's character whatsoever in The Last Jedi. The actress, she's fine. Whatever. Her lines sounded 80-yard the entire time. It was way too crispy. In this movie, not so much. But Rose, in this movie, her role was trimmed down to, I think, like a minute and a half of screen time. But again, she does more in that minute and a half than she does in the entirety of The Last Jedi. And what I mean by they do more important stuff. They do more toward the story. In The Last Jedi, they literally fail. And that, of course, is the moral of the story. Failure is a teacher. Great, but let's not have a whole movie of that, because it was boring and it was just not good. I really did not like The Last Jedi. For so many reasons. It felt like a Star Trek episode, and in a bad way. Like an old Star Trek episode with that slow chase scene in space, because the Resistance ships were lighter and faster. How does weight have anything to do with anything in space? It doesn't. Also, in The Rise of Skywalker, that Millennium Falcon chase scene was cool. You see how Finn is a lot more confident now. As soon as he gets in the gunner position, he's like, I got this. We're good. This is where I'm comfortable. Poe Dameron's flying the Millennium Falcon. It was really cool to see him and Chewie flying it. Because I'm like, I really did want Poe to eventually fly the Millennium Falcon, and he finally does. It was great, and he flies it well. And I love that he's apologizing when he scrapes it and Chewie's getting after him. So the whole Rey training was, like I said, I don't know if I said it, but it was cheesy, it was weird, but it made sense. And it was a lot better than any of the training that she's ever received in any other movie that we've seen her in so far. In The Force Awakens, she literally discovers the Force and she's already powerful. She's mind-tricking people. She defeats Kylo Ren after being like, oh yeah, I gotta tap into the Force, and then she defeats him. And then in The Last Jedi, she had a neglectful teacher, Luke Skywalker, who didn't even teach her anything. He also said 3 lessons. He teaches her 2. The 3rd one was cut. It's a deleted scene. It's a weird deleted scene. But honestly, it was probably the best training moment in the entire 3 sessions. But yeah, she gets a lot more training in this from Leia, which was weird. Trying to remember what happens after that. I'm scatterbrained right now. I didn't get much sleep last night. So I really liked how it opened with Kylo Ren going to find Palpatine and Emperor Palpatine. That was cool. When he starts talking to him and he uses the different voices, which I didn't quite understand, because I saw this clip before going to see the movie out of context. And I honestly thought for sure that they were going to go this route, okay? I thought Palpatine was just going to be the like physical presence of this new character. I thought that they were going to give the villain role to the literal dark side of the Force. Like the actual dark side of the Force was going to be the antagonist, the villain of the film. Not just Emperor Palpatine. The dark side of the Force would just like represent itself as Emperor Palpatine, or Darth Vader, or Darth Maul, or Snoke. That would have been amazing. What a great opportunity for fan service. I mean, you want to talk about fan service, that would have been it. That would have been all I would need to bring the dark side of the Force, the embodiment of the dark side of the Force, the physical presence of the dark side of the Force. That would have been amazing. But they didn't do that. I feel like they kind of wanted to, because they talk about all the Sith are in me at the end, and he's firing the lightning at Rey, and Rey says, all the Jedi are in me, and then defeats him. Which I thought the final battle against Emperor Palpatine was a bit lackluster. Especially the fight scene between Ben Solo, because he turned into Ben Solo, he wasn't Kylo Ren anymore, he gave that up. When he fights the Knights of Ren, that was way too quick, okay? They put up less of a fight. They put up less of a fight than the Red Guards in The Last Jedi. It's like, isn't Ben Solo now like a Jedi and should be, I mean, I guess technically more powerful because he's tapped into his light side of the Force. He's a lot more himself. Well, I guess that's why he defeats them faster. I don't know what I'm talking about. But yeah, the fact that two of them struggled and almost get beaten themselves in The Last Jedi. As far as I know, they were about the same amount of Red Guards as Knights of Ren. Also, the Knights of Ren they were lackluster. I mean, they literally just hunt for a few minutes, and then they have a fight scene, they're dead. They didn't last long at all. I honestly thought they were going to bring back what they said in The Last Jedi, because that was one of the few things that they said in The Last Jedi that I really liked, is that Kylo Ren took a few of Luke's students with him, who I thought were confirmed to be the Knights of Ren. Apparently not. Which I would have thought would have been really cool, to have all of them pull out their lightsabers, have a really big lightsaber battle. Missed opportunity. Like number 10 or something. There's a lot of stuff that happens in this movie. C-3PO, I didn't like his character, so it's really dark. I'm going through tunnels. C-3PO's character was weird in this movie. I didn't like him. I thought they would have had the guts to kill him off, but they didn't. Which I was actually a bit disappointed with when they pretty much brought up the fact, like, oh, I can't read the stuff because it goes against his code because he has to speak Sith. That was stupid. That whole storyline was like the Canto Bite. Not as bad as the Canto Bite, but bad still. And unnecessary. That scene, that little character, everyone thinks that little character is amazing. I'm like, really? I did not like that little character. He was annoying. Not nearly as cute as Baby Yoda. Baby Yoda, top notch. He's basically Gizmo from Gremlins. Who doesn't love Gizmo? So, yeah, that whole C-3PO, I thought he was dead. I was like, okay, that's a good send-off. And then he comes back, and he's just a brand new droid. But then, a few minutes later, he's back to normal. It's like, what was the whole point of making that so dramatic if you're just gonna redo it, undo it, or whatever? So that was a bit weird. The Force healing, I didn't like it. I understand why they had to do it. Because, let's be honest, Ben Solo, Kylo Ren, could not go on after this movie and be happy. There's too many people that have seen his face, who know who he is, what he's done, for him to just, like, be left alone and live a happy retirement life after ruling the First Order and killing hundreds, thousands, if not millions of people, or billions, who knows. It's not like he could just be like, all right, I'm going to retire at the Tatooine farm, Skywalker ranch, and just, yeah, I'm good. So they had to kill him off. They had to have him sacrifice himself for Rey. And I thought that was a nice moment. The kiss was a little weird. It did feel a little earned. But yeah, it was just okay. That final battle, though, that was pretty awesome. I'm sorry, there's something else I wanted to talk about because it was really important, but I don't remember what it was. Not really important, but you know what I mean. That final battle was pretty cool. Seeing the X-Wings, the Y-Wings, the B-Wings, and the A-Wing. I don't know if I saw any A-Wings, but there were a few A-Wings in there. I really wanted more of that final battle, the flight battle. I really wanted more of that, especially when they brought in all those other ships that Lando goes out and gets. It was very reminiscent of Avengers Endgame, which I thought Avengers Endgame did it 100 times better. It was still a triumphant moment, like, hey, we have help, and this is going to be an amazing fight, and we don't get to see nearly enough of it. I really liked the Wedge Antilles cameo. I thought he deserved way more than 1.5 seconds or 2 seconds worth of screen time. I also think he should have been in an X-Wing or something. An old-fashioned X-Wing. Can you imagine just seeing all the old ships and the new ships flying together? It would have been awesome. I mean, we do get a little bit of that. Sorry, gotta go. Man, I'm so tired. We do get a little bit of that. We also get to see a U-Wing for a few seconds. That was cool. I mean, they don't just say, here's a U-Wing. It's like, it's kind of flying in the background. You see it's small. You also see a lot of other ships that give a lot of references to other characters and shows and movies in the Star Wars universe. So I thought that was a really cool scene. I wanted a lot more of it, though. A lot more of it. The whole desert chase scene on that one planet, I don't remember, with the festival that happens every 42 years, which of course is a reference to when A New Hope came out in 1977. That was a weird scene. I didn't mind it so much, but it was the humor in that scene was probably, all the humor revolving around C-3PO felt forced. Especially that part where he's like, oh, they fly now. They fly now? They fly now. I did not like that whatsoever. The moment I heard it in the trailer, I was like, oh, it was a cringy, eye-rolling moment, both in the trailer and in the movie. I was like, oh gosh, come on guys. First off, the line delivery, not terrible. The lines themselves were bad. It was just a bad idea to put that type of thing in it. I know I've heard a lot of people saying, I like that. I did not whatsoever. It was very Marvel-esque, and Marvel and Star Wars are very different things. Yes, they're both owned by Disney. But come on, separate them. It's Lucasfilm and Marvel. They're still different sub-studios or whatever they are. Anyway, that whole scene was a bit, it was okay. And then they sink. Finn was going to be like, Rey, I never told you. And then he sinks. I've seen a lot of, I think it was actually confirmed that Finn was going to tell her, I'm Force sensitive. And I'm glad that they didn't actually just come out and say it. I'm glad they kind of left that alone, because it's like, how, that would be a really awkward line. Oh, by the way, Rey, I'm Force sensitive. I can feel the Force. And that was kind of a given and a known thing. The Last Jedi kind of sidelined that tremendously, which I thought was really stupid. But yeah, there was a lot of missed opportunities, particularly in The Last Jedi, and then, of course, in this one. Kerry Russell's character was actually kind of cool. I wanted more of her. And the humor mainly, when it's around Poe and his frustration within the scene, the character's frustration, works really well, and it doesn't feel that forced. There's a few tiny moments that feel forced. Like I said, the humor was toned down, which is great. That's a huge positive. But the moment when Finn and Rey find out that Poe was a spice runner from Kerry Russell's character, Finn's like trying to give him a hard time, like, you were a spice runner? And Poe's like, what, you were a stormtrooper? Oh, you were a scavenger? We can do this all day. That was a good moment. It was a little bit Marvel-esque humor, but it was more of a character being frustrated in the scene, like, come on guys, we have more important things to talk about. And it wasn't like, hey, I'm going to tell a joke. It was just, I'm frustrated. And it comes off as funny. There was also, again, that moment when he asks Finn, like, hey, what were you going to tell Rey? And he's like, now's not the time. He's like, oh, you got something better to do? Like, we're about to be killed. You're really not going to tell me? Again, that was a moment of the character's frustration. Like, come on, guys. Something is about to happen. We can't just, we can't play the pronoun game. I thought it was cool that Leia had a lightsaber and that she was trained to use the Force, because we didn't get any hint of that in The Force Awakens, and then suddenly she's pulling herself Mary Poppins style in The Last Jedi back from space into the ship. That was a horrible scene. But when we get to see them, Luke training her, I was like, yay, that's awesome, because that apparently happened in like the expanded universe or the books and stuff. So I was glad that they finally brought that in, so that Rey could actually be taught. The fact that her lightsaber was blue really disappointed me, though, because at the time Luke trained her, his lightsaber turned out to be green. Maybe hers should have turned out to be green as well. And plus, they didn't really get creative with the lightsaber colors. It was always blue and red. We only got a short glimpse of the green lightsaber in The Last Jedi as a flashback. That was so lame. Because when Rey goes back to Ahch-To, I gotta just talk about this scene. She lights the TIE fighter on fire, throws the lightsaber into the fire. Luke catches it and says, "A Jedi's weapon deserves more respect." That was an amazing retcon of the Last Jedi scene where he just throws the lightsaber over his shoulder. It's like, yes, thank you, J.J. Abrams, because that was one of the many bad moments from The Last Jedi. And you fixed it. You made it not necessarily work, because he admits that he was wrong, and I loved that. Or Luke admits that he was wrong. Loved it so much. And then he's like, there's another lightsaber here. I was like, oh, it's his green lightsaber. Actually, it's Leia's blue lightsaber. So you get 2 blue lightsabers. Come on. Give us a green lightsaber. We haven't seen that in real action since, well, I guess episode 3. But, I mean, really, in chronological order, Return of the Jedi. Want to see more of that. Trying to remember everything else that happens. Seeing Luke pull out the X-Wing from the ocean, that was awesome. The music, beautiful. It was a great callback to Dagobah, with him trying to lift the X-Wing and he can't, and then Yoda does it. Yeah, it was a great callback. I really did like to see that X-Wing back in action. It was beautiful, and I really wanted more of it, but we didn't get it. And then to call it Red 5, that was cool. Then we get even to see an old-time TIE fighter, which was cool. I still don't understand how Kylo Ren got to the planet with Emperor Palpatine on it. I forget what the planet name is. I think it was called Exegol. Yeah, that was weird. Like, TIE fighters didn't have those old TIE fighters. The Imperial TIE fighters, to my knowledge, didn't have a hyperdrive unit on them, like the X-Wings did. So it didn't really, it made no sense for him to be able to catch up to her on Exegol. Sorry, this is a very dangerous situation we got going here. Slow exit ramp that's backed up onto the freeway, and I'm in the right lane. There we go, I got around it. So yeah. Sorry, gotta go. Man, I'm so tired, guys. Okay, I've talked a lot about this movie. There's so much more I could talk about. And I know once I get to work, I'm going to be thinking about things that I should have talked about. Like, shoot, I didn't talk about that. But you know what? I'm going to leave it at this. I really, really did like The Rise of Skywalker. It is my favorite of the new trilogy. Even more so than The Force Awakens. Obviously better than The Last Jedi. It's definitely not my favorite Star Wars movie, though. I would give The Rise of Skywalker probably an A-, maybe a B+. I mean, obviously the pacing, the story is, it's just a mess, but there's some great stuff. They even took like that Force connection, the Skyping between Kylo Ren and Rey, and they made it better. They literally have a lightsaber duel through the Force. That was cool. I'm going to just double check to make sure that I'm still recording. Yes, I'm still recording and the battery's still good. That's good. All right. So yeah, I really did like The Rise of Skywalker, and I hate seeing all these articles from all these like critic review sites that are saying all the ways the Rise of Skywalker ruined Star Wars or retconned The Last Jedi, and I'm like, these should actually be titled all the reasons The Rise of Skywalker is superior to The Last Jedi, because it serviced the fans. And it subverted everyone's expectations, all the critics' expectations from The Last Jedi. He did exactly what Rian Johnson did to the fans, but J.J. Abrams did it to the critics. I personally applaud that. So yeah, I give Rise of Skywalker an A-. I'm gonna go quickly through my ranking of the Star Wars movies, because I probably won't be doing another video for a long time, if unfortunately ever. So sorry guys, this is kind of a one-off video. So The Last Jedi, of the ones that I've seen, The Last Jedi is the worst. My absolute least favorite. Okay? And there are 4 movies in 2 different places that kind of swap places, okay? The movies in second to last place and third to last place switch constantly depending on the day, which is really weird. And then the number 1 film and the number 2 film kind of flop depending on my mood. Today is the usual. Episode 8, worst. Last Jedi, the worst. Episode 1, it's superior to The Last Jedi, but not by much. Jar Jar Binks ruins it. Little kid Anakin ruins it. Qui-Gon Jinn is literally the worst Jedi ever. I still liked his character, but he's so dumb. But Darth Maul, pod racing scene, amazing, not enough to save the film. Then Attack of the Clones, Episode 2. Yes, we have all the really cringy dialogue that is taking place throughout all the prequels, including Episode 1 and 2 and 3, which are all the prequels, except for Solo and Rogue One are also prequels. Anyway, the whole the whole love story in Attack of the Clones, cringy, just terrible, bad decision. Yeah, but there's a lot going for Attack of the Clones. The final battle that carries on for like 40 minutes, incredible. The CGI was better than Phantom Menace. Still not great. Even for the time, you could tell that there were some rough spots. But yeah, the droid army, seeing the new Mighty Ducks droids, the clones coming in, Jango Fett, that whole asteroid belt scene. There's a lot that happens in that movie that's just a lot of fun. And then I'd have to give it to Solo. I do like this movie, but I mean, from this point on, we're kind of into the movies that I like. Solo was fun. It's got its bad moments. You know, Darth Maul coming in was weird, but I liked it, and I hope it goes somewhere, especially in the Obi-Wan Kenobi series that we're getting on Disney+. Where do I go after this? Probably Episode 3, after Solo. Episode 3 was just very dramatic, and it closed off, it finished the saga, or it completed the saga for the time being, which I thought was a great completion of the Skywalker saga. It answered all the questions that we had leading up to A New Hope, almost all the questions. So after Episode 3, I gotta go Force Awakens. I love Force Awakens. It's a great movie. It's fun, reinvigorated Star Wars. And then I gotta go Return of the Jedi. Return of the Jedi is a fun movie. It has a really slow start, but that final battle, incredible, okay? Absolutely incredible. And it's a huge lead up to that, and it's amazing. Where am I? Probably Rise of Skywalker next. I thought it was a great conclusion to the trilogy, not to the saga, but the best film of the new trilogy, but not the best Star Wars movie by any means. After Rise of Skywalker, I gotta go Episode 4, A New Hope, Star Wars. It's the classic. It's such a good movie. Then I gotta go Rogue One. I personally love Rogue One. Rogue One, okay, I'm just gonna say it right now, my number 1 pick is Empire Strikes Back. I think I listed all of them. Empire Strikes Back is not by far, but very closely with Rogue One in my opinion. Those two are the ones that flip-flop for number 1. Best movie. That asteroid scene, again, incredible. The music, incredible. The lightsaber battle, yeah, it didn't age very well, but it's still very dramatic and very well done. The twist, of course, of Darth Vader being Luke's father, genius. There's a lot going for that movie. But as a kid, I didn't like it. But yeah, Rogue One, I got to talk about Rogue One for a minute because I know I'm going off base. Rogue One, to me, has some of the most intriguing characters and it has the most desperate story in terms of like the characters. They're desperate to make this mission work, and that's what works. It's a desperate mission. You're stressed almost the entire time. Like, they have to get this. You know that they're going to, because episode 4 wouldn't happen. None of the Star Wars movies would happen if it didn't. So it works out, but they had the guts to kill all the main characters off. Honestly, the most impactful death was K2SO, because every other character dies in an explosion. But I really did like Rogue One. I really did. That final battle, whoa, incredible. I was smiling the entire movie when I first saw it. Oh my goodness. But yeah, bringing back Gold Leader and Red Leader, incredible. Using archived footage, it was just an amazing, gloriously pleasing, visually pleasing final battle. Just amazing. So yeah, that's my ranking of the Star Wars movies. Empire Strikes Back is the best. Last Jedi is the worst. I think Rise of Skywalker took 4th place. I think that's how I rated it, because I listed my ranking on Twitter. So if you want to go see that, the official ranking, I don't know if I said it the same way now, but that is my official ranking for now. I think that's all I got. I know I'm going to kick myself later, but I don't want this video to go much longer than it already has. It's already like 45 minutes. So I'm sorry, guys, but this is a one-off video. I just wanted to just spill my guts about the movie. I really liked it. If you haven't seen it yet, I'm sorry. I just pretty much spoiled everything about it. Yeah, I would recommend going to see it. See it on the biggest screen you can. I loved almost every minute of this movie. Yeah, that's all I got for now. Thank you guys for watching. I really miss doing these videos really badly, but I'm too busy with work, being a husband and a father, and I have things that I want to do in the future that I can't, unfortunately, spend my time reviewing movies and doing trailer breakdowns. I would absolutely love to, but unfortunately, I'm just not at the stage of life right now that I can do that. So it's been fun, and I really miss doing these videos. Maybe I'll do another one if I ever get to see another new movie in theaters, because before The Rise of Skywalker, the last new movie that I had seen in theaters was Avengers Endgame. Didn't do a review for that. Probably should have. That would have been fun. But a lot happened to that one too. And really not that much at the same time. Anyway, if you like this video, be sure to give it a big old thumbs up. I'm not going to ask you to subscribe to the channel because, again, like I said, this is kind of a one-off video. I don't know if or when I'm going to be able to make another video. If I do, it'll probably be the same situation with me driving to work, because it's really the only time that I have enough time to do anything like this. So, yeah. Thanks, guys, for watching, and I'll see you around.